Israel-Hamas war now entering its third week. Israel holding off a ground invasion for now. Meanwhile, 2 American hostages were released on Friday, but hundreds still remain in the Gaza Strip. Joining us right now is Aaron David Miller. He is former Middle East negotiator for the U.S. State Department, where he served 6 secretaries of state, and now senior fellow for the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. And Aaron, what do you make of this at this point? There are reports this morning that the United States has been pressuring Israel to hold off on its ground offensive to try and give more time to negotiate for the release of more hostages. It's been unclear in terms of whether or not that's actually happening. You think that's the case?
Yeah, Becky, thanks for having me. Look, the situation clearly is going to get worse before it gets much worse, because the headlines, as bad as they look, I think presage some pretty serious trend lines. Yeah, the administration clearly has not only leaned on the Israelis to restrain or at least delay a massive ground campaign into Gaza in order to provide more time and space to see if there can be any unilateral releases of hostages, but they're also working on the Israelis to avoid a preemptive strike in the north. And it is that northern front, Israel-Lebanon. If you're worried about plunging financial markets and rising oil prices, that is the front to watch. Regional escalation involving Israel and Hezbollah along the lines of the summer of '06, which lasted for 34 days. And this time it's going to be much worse with the possible involvement, not predicting it right now, of a direct Israeli-Iranian confrontation.
What would prevent that from happening? I mean, the mood in Israel is probably much worse than it had been back in 2006. There is,
yeah, no doubt. I think what would prevent it is the lessons that both Hezbollah and Israel drew from that confrontation, which lasted 34 days, in which 5,000 guys with relatively unsophisticated rockets and missiles shut down the northern half of the Middle East's most preeminent military power, Israel, for 34 days. Now you've got Hezbollah with 150,000 high trajectory weapons of varying range and lethality, and you're going to see a massive Israeli counterstrike if those missiles are launched. I think both sides right now are still adhering to the so-called rules of the game, which have pertained since '06. But miscalculation, misperception, an extensive Israeli ground campaign in Gaza could, in fact, prompt Hezbollah to get involved.
Rules of the game changed pretty significantly, I would say 2 weeks ago, with the incursions into Israel.
Yeah, the rules of the game, Israel and Hamas changed fundamentally, but not between Israel and Hezbollah in the north. Look, Hamas wanted to break out of its straitjacket. They wanted to inflict as much pain and suffering on civilians as possible in order to provoke regional unrest. And to some degree, they're succeeding in the sense you've now got pro-Iranian Syrian Iraqi militias striking U.S. military bases and forces in Iraq and Syria. You've got Hezbollah heating up the northern front, and we still haven't witnessed what I suspect is coming, which is a comprehensive Israeli effort not just to decapitate Hamas, but to undermine its sovereignty and capacity to govern in Gaza, which, of course, triggers the whole question of what's the day after like.
Yeah, I guess that's the longer time goes on, perhaps the more hope there is that this doesn't spread and become a much larger conflict. But you're saying you kind of look at it as the opposite. You're waiting to see what happens next and think that, you know, this calm right now is not going to last?
Well, we're 17 days in, and we haven't even seen what arguably is the main event of this conflict, which is an Israeli effort not just to avenge the deaths of 1,400 Israelis, but to try to create a new reality in Gaza. 2.3 million people, 21,000 humans per square mile, densely populated, a tunnel system Hamas has constructed, which is probably half the size of the New York subway system. We're operating in a strip, an area of land 25 miles long. It's going to be a very difficult and bloody fight. Whether the Israelis can accomplish what they seek to do is unclear. And it puts the United States, I think, in a very difficult position. The administration wants to support Israel, and rightfully should. But Biden has been counseling Netanyahu and his war cabinet and reminding them publicly, and I'm sure privately, about the lessons of 9/11, which essentially mean think very carefully about how your means are correlated with the ends you want to achieve. And remember, military power is just an instrument to achieve a political outcome. And that's the real problem here. And I think the days ahead are going to be very, very gloomy and very bloody.
Aaron, very quickly, if Israel does launch a ground offensive, does that necessarily mean that Hezbollah will come down from the north?
Depends on the number of civilian casualties. And in fact, if the Israelis are out to extinguish, literally obliterate Hamas, it may well be that Hezbollah will be pressed to enter the fray. But again, I think there's so many uncertainties here, not to mention the fate of the hostages once military operations begin on a massive scale.